My wife changed her emergency contact from me to a man I'd never heard of. When I asked her about it, she smiled and said it was just a mistake. 3 months later, I discovered she was secretly engaged to him. My name is Daniel, and I had been married to my wife Lauren for 6 years. I first noticed it during a routine doctor's appointment when Lauren left some paperwork on the kitchen counter. As I glanced over it, one detail caught my attention. Emergency contact Michael Carter. Not me, not her parents, not her sister. A man I'd never heard of. When I asked her about it that evening, she barely looked up from her phone. Oh, that's just a coworker. I must have filled out the form wrong. Something about her answer felt rehearsed. A week later, I brought it up again, and she immediately became defensive. Why are you acting so insecure? It's just an emergency contact. Do I need permission to have friends now? Within minutes, the conversation somehow became my fault. According to Lauren, I was controlling, paranoid, and creating problems where none existed. So I stopped asking questions. Instead, I started paying attention. The first thing I checked was our shared phone account. At first, nothing stood out. Then I noticed the same number appearing over and over again. Calls during lunch, calls late at night, calls while I was at work. The number belonged to Michael Carter, the man listed as her emergency contact. I told myself there had to be an explanation. Then I found the calendar entries. Lauren and I shared a digital family calendar, but every few weeks there were blank blocks labeled only as meeting. No location, no details, just several hours completely missing. One Friday, she claimed she was attending a work seminar. The calendar showed another mysterious meeting, so I took the day off and followed her. Instead of driving to her office, she parked outside a small restaurant downtown. A man walked up and hugged her. Not a casual hug, not a coworker hug. The kind of hug people share when they haven't seen each other in days. My stomach dropped. I sat in my car for nearly 2 hours watching them laugh, hold hands, and act like a couple, but somehow it still wasn't the worst part. A week later, I discovered hidden bank transfers. $200, $300, $500, always sent to the same account. Michael Carter. Now I knew there was something much bigger happening, so I hired a private investigator. 2 weeks later, he handed me a folder. Inside were dozens of photographs. Lauren and Michael at restaurants. Lauren and Michael shopping for furniture. Lauren and Michael touring houses. Then I saw the final photograph. Lauren standing beside Michael, both smiling, both wearing matching engagement rings. I stared at that picture for nearly 5 minutes. There was only one problem. Lauren was already married. To me. The investigator confirmed everything. Michael believed Lauren was divorced. For 8 months, she had been living a double life. She told him I was her ex-husband. She told me he was a coworker. She had somehow convinced both of us to believe completely different realities. I could have confronted her immediately, but I wanted the truth exposed. Thanksgiving was approaching, and both families were gathering at my parents' house. Lauren was excited. Michael had no idea he was about to attend as a surprise guest because I invited him myself. Halfway through Thanksgiving dinner, I stood up and said, I'd like to introduce everyone to Lauren's fiancé. The room went silent. Lauren nearly dropped her glass. Then Michael walked into the dining room. His smile disappeared the moment he saw me sitting beside her. What is this? He asked. I looked at him calmly and said, Michael, how long have you been engaged to my wife? The color drained from Lauren's face. For the next 20 minutes, the entire truth came crashing down. Wedding photos, marriage certificate, bank records, messages. Every lie she had told was exposed in front of both families. Michael looked physically sick. He kept repeating, You're married? You're actually married? Lauren tried to explain. Then she tried to blame misunderstandings. Then she cried. Nobody believed her. Finally, Michael stood up, removed the engagement ring from his finger, placed it on the table, and walked out without saying another word. The silence that followed was worse than any argument. Within 2 months, the divorce was finalized. Lauren lost her husband. She lost her fiancé. She lost the future she'd been promising both of us. And the strangest part? All of this started because she changed one name on a form. She spent months planning 2 futures, and somehow ended up with none.